Hello, welcome back. Welcome to Hind Limb Week. How exciting is that? This is our second last video. This is the last video that we are going to be doing with any skeleton. This is our last body parts. Next week, we're going to be looking at who this horse actually is. So you've only got to hold on for one more week to be able to finalize the mystery of everything. I want to, right off the bat, apologize because there is bound to be dog shenanigans this week because all of the dogs are here somewhere. They're off having an adventure at the moment. I reckon they're going to blow back in and make a big kerfuffle. And I'm so sorry for that. I just can't control it. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but, you know, dogs will be dogs, and there's a lot of them. So, you know, if anybody wants a foxing, just let me know. We got plenty who could do with a new home. Anyhow, welcome to the hind limb. I can't believe we've made it this far. I can't believe we're nearly done. Now, as far as your prize questions go, this is the last week, the last question that we have, and it's a doozy of a question. This week's question is, what was this horse's most significant skeletal change? So this is a question that can be answered off of any of the videos that you've seen. You know, obviously watching through all of these videos, you'll be able to see that there is something that's more significant than everything else. Unfortunately, I didn't realize when we started doing these lives that they get deleted off of Facebook after 30 days. So consequently, I have lost the head video and the neck video. So rest assured though that the answer to this question, what was the horse's most significant skeletal change, cannot be found in either of those two videos. So if you want to go back and watch anything, unfortunately they're not available, but all of the others are. And I have actually been able to download them as well. Just one of those fun gifts from Meta, deleting the videos after 30 days. But there are still three videos still available on the page. So if you want to scroll down and have a look at them, go through anything, I would, you know, you're more than welcome. Plus I have a hard copy of them myself. So if you want to see them, I can always send them through to you as well. Unfortunately, the head and the neck, that information lost to the ether. But this week, the hind limb. As with the front limb, we're not going to be going through all of the function kind of information. If you are interested in the functioning of the joints, I would really highly recommend that you go and sign up for the Learning Horse Anatomy course. I go through all of that stuff on there. Rather, this week, we are going to just focus on what this horse is showing us, look at a few different cool things, and see what we've got left going on. So, one more time for the folks in the back row, the final question for this week is, what was this horse's most significant skeletal change? Now, those of you who are playing for the prize pack, I will be sending out a form to you if you want to participate, where you can fill in all these answers and then submit the form to go into the running. So if you do want access to that form, please, in the comments, just pop in the comment prize, so then I'll know to send you the form. If you're watching this live, go for it. If you're watching this on the replay, I will still see the comments. So pop the comment in there and I will get that submission form to you, pop all your answers in there, submit it, and then next week, next Monday, I will let you all know who won that. Now, let's get into our pony. All right, as we spin ourselves around, here it is. Here's our little pony. So this is going to be a bit of a tough one because hind limbs, mate, they are some big old bones, right? So here we have the hind limbs, which span from all the way over there, all the way over here of our pony. Okay, so what I want to start looking at with you is this great whopper here. So this is our femur. This is the right, so the offside femur, And as with the shoulder, you know, where we're looking at the humerus and looking at where those growth lines are, this femur is showing us incredible, let me get my little pointer, incredible still where the growth is happening for this horse, right? All through here. It is a lot of bones. I know. Hind legs, man. Wait, focus. Here we go. So we also have this growth line through here. Now this is the actual ball portion of the ball and socket of the hip joint, right? Let me grab my pelvis, not my pelvis, the horse's pelvis, right? So this is our acetabulum here on the pelvis. Here's our femur in here, and this is our action, right? So you're looking at this from the position of the horse's head. You're looking back towards the tail. So that bit of bone right back there that I'm waggling at you, that's the horse's bum. So this is our hip joint, all right? So looking at where all of those growth lines are, where this bone is still growing, especially when we look here, up through the top here. Now you've got huge amounts of muscle that is attaching onto here. You've got all of your gluteals that will attach onto that greater trochanter. You've got all of the quads that are coming down here. You've got your adductors on the inside. There's a lot of muscle that attaches onto here to give it stability and mobility in the joint. But holy moly, that bone is in a lot of different pieces, right? Super cool. No, wait, you'd think I'd know by now to zoom rather than moving the bone closer. Amazing, huh? Opa, zoom back out. There we go. So that's our femur. Now, unfortunately, in decomp, there was a little bit of natural predation. So bugs have actually chewed out this part of the bone here. So it's not really anything exciting for us to look at. That's a decomp, unfortunately, a decomp issue. But that's coming into our stifle. Oh, let me rejuggle everything out of our way here. There we are. Now, the next thing that I wanted to have a look at on this, again, we're still on the right hind, is having a look. So this is so we went from our femur into our tibia and fibula. Now, the main bone, this big long piece, is the tibia. Pardon me. This comes down and sits into and becomes part of the hock joint. So it's huge mobility here as well. All of these joints in the hind leg, incredible, ridiculous amounts of mobility, right? So this is the bottom of our stifle joint just here. So there's our stifle doing its job here. The cool thing about this is that we still have our fibula attached just here. As you can see, it's just this little stumpy little thing that's hanging on there. But not only is it this portion in the horse's body, but we have this guy too. Now the fibula is super cool because it is a bit like the splint bones. It's not useful really at all. It does provide attachment points for some muscles in the hind leg. However, in terms of a weight-bearing functionality, it doesn't have one. It's been retracted. I'm really struggling to get that in place. There we go. It's been retracted, sucked back out of the way as horses kind of lost the amount of toes that they have. Now having only one toe, they don't actually require the balance and the stability from a tibia and fibula. So the fibula has been retracted back to being this little stick figure thing that just sits off the side here. Now, the real cool thing about this is if you've ever had your horse's stifles x-rayed, you can sometimes see this off the side and you will see this little line here, this growth line, as a, kind of quote unquote fracture line. And it really weirds a lot of people out because, it's terrifying to look at and see this little wiggly line and think, oh no, my horse's bone is fractured. Whoop, there we go. But it's actually in growth and development where these two bones still have a growth plate. And they still will grow and join together. But at the end of the day, he's not super duper useful. He just sits there and he gives a bit of scaffolding to some muscles. I mean, not that that's not a useful job. That's a useful job too. Sorry, fibula. I don't want to downplay your job, but it's not what it used to be, that's for sure. Now on here, we also, as I'm moving this around, you'll surely see that we've still got heaps of open growth lines through this fibula as well. As we come down into the hock, we're going to spend a little bit of time on the hocks because this horse is showing us some really cool stuff. Now, I've gone to our left hock, so this is a near side hock, and because these are stuck together, so they are actually fused together back through here. This is a little bit of what looks like mummified tissue. It essentially is mummified tissue, so this needs to be removed. But because everything's sticking together so in such a cool fashion, I just wanted to leave it there to be able to show you guys how these bones actually hold themselves together, right? So we have these two bones. Where is my pointer? So we've got these two guys sandwiched one on top of the other. This is our cannon bone here. And then, as we were saying last week, we have the splint bones down the back of the cannon. These are actually fused on here, but they provide great scaffolding for the bones of the hock, as they do with the bones of the knee, in order to, let me put this the right way, in order to give these bones, have something to sit on. So as I construct that hock above it, wait, I'm going to have to scooch a little bit here so that we can get it all in the right frame. You come back here with me. Got there. All right, so here's our hock. So that bone goes in there. Now we have another one back here. These two laid one on top of each other. So at this point, we've got those 4 bones. Then we have this big fella who sits on the top there. And then this guy who goes on there, just like that. And so as we can see, these bones over here all being held together and actually having fused together through here. So this is on the medial side of this leg. So this is the inside of the near hind. All of these other bones would have been held together in a similar fashion, obviously without fusing, thank goodness, but they all are held together there as well. And then we have our splint bones that provide an extra shelf, a little bit of scaffolding for those hock bones to sit onto. Now, as you can see with the hock, it's very different from the knee. It does have multiple parts to it, but this is not created for mobility. This is actually created for force breakdown. Again, it's not something that I really want to go into deeply now because I'm severely running out of phone battery. But if you're interested in learning about that, pop on over to the Learning Horse Anatomy course. We do talk about all of that sort of stuff, the mechanics of the hock, why everything is where it is. But the mobility of the hock, the actual bend of the hock, comes from this guy. What leg are we on? This one. And the fibula. The tibia, right? So in there, in that rotational, that beautiful circular piece of that bone, that's where bend comes from. So all of these other bones, we don't actually want them to be highly mobile between them. However, with what this horse has done here, we want a little bit of mobility between them because it acts as a shock absorber. We don't want them, ideally, to be fused together. So there must have been some reason that these fused together. Otherwise, the cannon is kind of unremarkable. Obviously, we've got the fusion of those 2 splint bones on there as well. We've got this beautiful little retracted toe there. Super cool. This one on this side, it actually snapped off. So there was one there. It's user error. I accidentally broke it. Sorry, pony. Now, I wanted to show you that cannon because as we come to the offside, so this is the right hind, the offside hind leg, and look at this cannon bone, there is something super cool here, right? I want to draw your attention to this part. Now, if I sit it this way, let me get there we go. You can see that there is not uniformity in the straightness of that cannon bone. On this side, yeah, the colour's a bit iffy, but we have a straight bone. Wait, ooh, there. Yeah, you see the difference that I'm talking about? It's almost like it's got an eyeball on it. Uh-oh, here go the dogs. So, if we have a look at this, no, Maggie, zoom the camera, you Wally. So let's have a closer look at this because the detail of this is rather remarkable. So as we get closer, you can see this like open bone matrix here and the different directionality through here, that circle that we've got happening there. So my assumption is, McGee, do you have to? I'm so sorry. My assumption is that we have had an injury to this hind leg at some point in this horse's life that has actually caused thickening to this bone. I wonder if, if we were looking at something like a degloving where we've come down to the bone level or something like that, but how fabulous is that? So this is the offside hind. So this is the outside of the offside hind, right? So his hip joint itself is on the inside here, bumps back that way, faces up where we are. So that's on the outside of that offside hind. How cool is that? And the other interesting thing about this, like if conceivably we've had an injury that's happened here. You dogs, you're going to have an injury in a second. But what we haven't had is fusion of the splint bones. Right, so on this side, I wonder if that dog, he's got some big opinions. McGee, please, honey. McGee, come here. I wonder if what we're seeing on this cannon here is from loading. Maybe if the horse was offloading for a long time to get off of this leg for this injury, whatever happened here, potentially, could that be why these might have fused? I mean, if you guys have got any other ideas, please do share them. But yeah, I wonder how deeply these two are related to each other, what we're seeing here as to what we're seeing here. Because that, I mean, to have an injury that has actually changed the bone and, changed the construction, altered the surface of the bone. You can see how it's so smooth everywhere else. Like it's smooth and shiny. It's lovely. And then it's this really incredibly rough texture through here where you can see all of that matrix come through. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. See, this is where I start to nerd out because this sort of stuff's so cool. My goodness me. All right, that one goes there and this one goes here. Fabulous. Now I've lost a navicular. No, wait, here it is. Okay. Excuse me for one moment. Speak amongst yourselves while I just read you. Not you, dogs. I wasn't talking about you speaking amongst yourselves. You can shut up. Really, let's be honest. Okay, so let's get down to the lower leg. As I'm laying these all out, you will see that they are all exactly the same in appearance as the front leg, right? So from our cannons, well, our cannon bones are slightly different in the hinds because they are longer and they're actually round. In the fronts, we have shorter cannons and they're more of an oval shaped. But other than that, same construct, right? So now as we come down here, Poppy, honey, that's enough. Enough now. No, she doesn't believe that it is enough. She's just going to keep playing. So what you can see here is that they are all exactly the same in terms of having the P1, 2, 3, and the navicular. Now, what I have got here from last week, this is one of the P1s from the front leg, right? Now, remember we were talking about how twisted this was and how skew-if it is. So if I take this and compare it to this one for you, you'll be able to see, hopefully you can see, in comparison, how twisted this one actually is. It's got more of an angulation to it this way, right? We have that little, like very, very minimal, but we've got that little rough bit at the front, which we're missing on this one, which might indicate to a start of ring bone. But then we've also got the direction of this groove here sitting at that twist too. I'm not sure how I can best show you that. And we are narrower here, and also the groove has more depth to it than we've got on this side here. So if my lighting is awful and you can't quite see what I'm seeing, trust me, I promise, I pinky swear. This one's way more twisty than this one. Nah, you can definitely see the twist there, for sure. All right, so let's pop the front leg off to the side and have a look at these super duper straight, lovely back legs. All right, so we've got In my right hand, so on the right side of the screen, we have the near side hind. And then in my left hand, on the left side of the screen, we have the offside hind. So this is our right hind. This is our left hind. And you can see that we have a lot more uniformity in the straightness. Same with the little P2s. And then we have our little pedal bones. Our coffin bones, distal phalanx, call it what you will. In comparison to the fronts, these are much, much nicer little feet. We have on the solar plane, we have more concavity to them. There is more balance. If you remember last week, we had a pretty severe medial lateral imbalance. So they were a little skew-iff in the way that they sat. But these ones, we do have a little bit of a bull nose on the front of them. And a little bit of bone. Ooh, I'm watching through the camera and I'm trying to put my finger on the bone. So we've got the bone kind of wasting away through here. Right, so they're not perfect. By any means, they are not perfect. But of her 4 feet, the hind ones maybe were better. They seem to be in a better balance of the bone. So if we spin them around this way, you can have a look through there. So maybe we do have a slight medial lateral imbalance. Yeah, a little bit of a medial lateral imbalance there on that one. So that's the near side hind. He's a little wonky on that one. Now, if we have a look at the navicular bones, he's showing us, as with the front. Now, you remember the front naviculars were a little bit squished through the back here as well. So we have arthritic change. More so on this one, which is our right hind, than this one, which is our left hind. I wonder how this factors in with our cannon bones. Weird, huh? You would expect if it was a loading issue where the horse was offloading off of a very sore right hind in recovery from an injury that affected the bone to that level, then and caused fusion of the hock joints on the left hind, then I mean, I would assume natural conclusion that that left navicular would have more bony change, but our right navicular has more bony change. That being said, he's had a few different issues in his life, this horse. So, unfortunately, it's not as simple to map as just one issue making one change. Now, what I want to show you here, the cool part about like how that bony change happens and where it sits. So remember, we've got our P1 and our P2 and our P3. And then our little navicular guy sits underneath in this groove down here, right? And that's his job. That's where he lives, down there. So where that bony change is in that navicular, wait, hold it, right. I'm not sure why I'm trying to change hands. The bony change in that navicular is through here. So the bony change itself, I'm not sure if I can get the right angle to show you, but it actually comes in and sits underneath the pedal bone. So those two sit together like that. So there's a nice surface there. So the arthritic change comes into the bottom of that P3. Now, what we have here, we have nerve and blood vessel coming into and or going out of these holes here, and then we have that deep digital flexor tendon attaching on here. So then we have arthritic change coming in to create more support underneath that bone there. You've got to wonder how that arthritic change then affects the soft tissue and the feeling of the foot itself. Maybe this is why navicular horses, it's so important to get their hoof balance right. Yeah, Susan, I'm thinking about Reggie right now. But once you find the right balance for the horse, that maybe gives them some relief from this navicular change. Maybe that's where you see soundness come from, or if they are standing too deeply onto this change and it's causing a little bit of restriction through these blood vessels here or through that deep digital connection. Maybe that's where you see lameness and discomfort coming from. Anyway, so that's pretty much the coolest stuff that this horse, no, it's not pretty much, is definitely the coolest stuff that this horse is showing us through their hind legs, okay? So that cannon and the offside cannon, the near side hock, these changes through the lower limb as well, the lack of fusion of the splint bones on the left side, on the right side, I'm so sorry, I do get that messed up and it then becomes so confusing. Now, we do have in the joints themselves, I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera because it's very slight. Here we go, this one's better. We do actually have arthritic change in the joints as well. So we have lesions of wear and tear. So you can see this circle here. Now, this is the near side hock. So this was wear within the joint in there where the cartilage that would sit over the top of this bone has actually worn away, and then there has been degradation starting to occur in the bone itself as well. So we have that more on the left hock than the right, but there is a little bit of wear in the right hock too. So there we are. Now, don't forget, this week's question is, what was this horse's most significant skeletal change? Now, that is across the board. That question relates to not only these hind legs, that it relates to its entire body. So what I'm asking you is, what do you think was the thing that was the most painful or the most, which reduced this horse's quality of life the most, right? So it's not necessarily just in the hind legs. It might be in the hind legs, but for those of you who've been watching the entire series, first of all, thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. But also, if you want to get into the prize draw for the questions, please pop into the comment section the word prize, and I will send you the form where you can put all of your answers from the last 6 weeks, and you can get yourself into the running for that prize pack. Hey, little Miggy, I've got the dog here in my lap with me, just to shush him from playing. And he's looking at me like I'm crazy. All right, so next week I am actually going to introduce you to who this beautiful little pony still is. I mean, we've all just spent 6 weeks hanging out with this horse, so that's definitely still an is. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thanks for playing. Don't forget to pop your comment below if you want the link to the prize draw form. And otherwise, any other questions that you've got, please do not hesitate to ask them, because I love them. I think they're fascinating, and it's been fantastic hanging out with you on this beautiful Monday. So I will see you around like a Rissole. Bye.